Ah, there you are. Yes, I've been in a week of deep sort of contemplation as we wind up the year here, and I think there's this rest period coming now, and some other things going on. It's a little bit confusing, but number one, I have to say, my prayers are going out to you right now in the name of Yeshua Jesus, to stop the oppression, the mental oppression that you're all getting. I'm sorry. Very, very sorry. It would be a lot easier if you knew it was coming from a satellite, but I bust and break and bind that oppression. I bind it in the name of Yeshua. I bind it in the name of God, all that is holy, Jesus. I bind and cast it out. I bind it and cast it out from your mind. I put a holy shield of protection with the power of the blood of Jesus Christ, God, to protect your minds, all of your minds, because in the mind begins the pain then affects the body affects your actions, and then you're down. I reverse all that with this prayer. Reverse all that, because the Father is giving you the power over the enemy, and that these flying darts and arrows will not touch you. I intone Psalm 91, Psalm 23, and absolutely sing the praises of all Scripture, which promises that the enemy will not by any means harm you, unless it's meant to be harmed, unless you're meant to go through something. But in that case, the Lord would reveal this to you. This has been the enemy sneak attack, which has worked. And I'm very sorry since we're all connected, we all know exactly what I'm talking about. And, I've been incapacitated when I've gone to LA and then done the work I do. I have gotten, the last trip, I got absolutely incapacitated where I could not even move. I could not talk. I could not function. It was like being in a dream where layers of air were so thick I couldn't pass through them, where I could see the spirits over that city would prevent me from just being like everyone else that was being left alone, because they're not a threat. I mean, if you're going to pray, well, LA is now renamed Arrogant A. It's AA, Arrogant Angels. That's the name of it. Arrogant Angeles. Instead of Lost Angels, Lost Angles, Lost Angeles, it's Arrogant Angeles. Arrogant Angels. It's the city of the fallen. The demon over LA is Lucifer. I know. The head angel over Los Angeles is Satan, because he's raised up that little horn, Hollywood. And the little horn speaks the great blasphemies against the Most High and controls the entire world. All your newspapers, all your media, everything is controlled by Hollywood. You don't know that, but it is. There are no independent voices at all. And the hierarchy of Hollywood controls who gets to be a journalist and who doesn't, through the circles of shame, the witchcraft entry. Bottom line, the Jews there are not Jews. Of course, they don't run Hollywood completely. LA is not run by Jews. LA is run by a mafia of Satanists, but they're not Jews. LA is run by a mafia so powerful, they tell the mafia what to do. They employ the mafia to be their hitmen. They employ the mafia to do their dirty work, but they treat the mafia like maid service. You got me? And the mafia is happy to oblige. That is the Italian mafia, the Jewish mafia, whatever. These guys are far underneath what controls Los Angeles. Next, I've decided I'm not going to hold back. Absolutely. Well, the case in point is the cover-up of the Ronnie Chasen murder, where they feel that now this guy was a random act. There is no way, shape, or form a guy on a bicycle with a gun is hanging out at Sunset and Whittier Drive in Beverly Hills. That's, first of all, a very busy street, lots of cops. Beverly Hills police are ubiquitous, And it's not going to happen. The other thing is they're linking the gun. If he was going to ride around on a bicycle and shoot somebody several times at close range through the window, he'd have to stoop down to the Mercedes because it's lower than you'd be on a bike. And he'd have to go then pick up his shells off Sunset Boulevard while cars are going by. I.e., it's absolutely not, really completely possible. Or if, let's say she slowed down after making the left turn onto Whittier Drive. The problem I have then is, first of all, Whittier Drive, even at midnight, is still used quite a bit as a shortcut from Sunset to Wilshire. There is no place to just slow down and for him to pull up on the right. I suppose it's possible. He could have flagged her down, but I think she would have gone past. It would have had to have been at the signal where she was making a left. He would have had to have gotten in the fast lane of Sunset Boulevard, since you have two lanes going west, and then you have the left turn lane. He would have had to get in where also those two lanes would have a green light while there's a red light on the left turn lane. So he'd have to get in the left lane, get up alongside her on the passenger side, dismount the bike or lean down, fire perfectly, then jump off the bike, get all the bullets off the ground, since there was no evidence, put it back in his bag or whatever, then ride his bicycle away without robbing her, which was his original intention, so some people would think. Unless he says he was paid $10,000 to ice her, okay, which means that he would have waited there for her, okay, if that story is true, but they're now saying it's not. They're saying that there was no motive other than it was just a drive-by. All right, so involved in the cover-up, at least for now. They may come forth with some information later. I hope they do, because this is right now totally not only ridiculous, impossible. Anyone who's been there, and I have been there, and I've been to the murder site, and I've been to where she crashed, and I showed you video of that, and I will tell you this. First of all, in Beverly Hills, hits happen all the time, okay? They get called in all the time, and they get covered up. Most of my friends who were murdered because they did not become Satanists, which means they become a treat for the party. Ha-ha, party favor. And they get their throat cut. Okay, what happens to them is they end up, it gets covered up, and it's called a accident. They put them in a car somewhere and throw the car off the cliff, and they go, oh, it's an accident. The Beverly Hills PD, along with everybody else in L.A., they go ahead and make sure it comes out that way. At least that's my experience with the BHPD. They're there to serve the people that call the shots, and they do what they're told, and they always have, and they always will. And there's no independent investigation in the Beverly Hills Police Department, and never will be. And there never was. I mean, I knew this just because people in my family told them what to do. And I was a witness to that when I was a kid. Ordered them around. Oh, I can't tell you everything, but there's certain things I just don't want to say, but it's the reason that the whole thing, again, goes back to that satanic initiation. You must be initiated into the satanic, to the world, to the system, to understand and keep your mouth shut about the PHPD, okay? That's what you've got to understand, because they are corrupt. But then again, corrupt in the sense that the people that live in Beverly Hills, like I say, the honchos there, not everybody in Beverly Hills, I'm just saying the people that run that city, like they do in many cities, tell the cops what to do. Right? You've seen that on television. Well, in the case of the Ronnie Chasen murder, what I think is going on, they're not so bad. I think maybe there's a side investigation going on to find out who called the hit, while they put forth this ridiculous story about a guy hanging around. Nobody would hang around at midnight at the corner of Whittier and Sunset because there's no way to hang around. I mean, there's a park there on the southwest corner. I suppose you could hide in the shadows of the park, but nobody on a bike is going to be able to beat a Mercedes that turns left down Whittier Drive. There's no way on the right to get on the right because it's a one-laner. It's a one-lane residential street. You can't get on the right if you're on your bicycle. There was no place between Sunset Boulevard, the left turn off Sunset onto Whittier, and where the car crashed, which was not even a block down the street. So there was between that left turn and where the car crashed, there was no place to stop. And I'm sure Ronnie Chasen is not going to stop for a black guy yelling at her on a bicycle at 12 midnight. I think she would just floor it down the street and go down to Wilshire and peel out to her apartment. There was no place to hide on the northeast corner or the southeast corner or the northwest corner or the southwest corner of Sunset and Whittier. And if he was hiding out like on the southwest corner on that little pocket park there, he would have to jump out, get his bike as the Mercedes is coming, go against traffic, peel out onto busy Sunset. And late at night at Sunset, since it's coming off the strip and all that, there's lots of people driving. And they drive wildly later at night. We used to have races down Sunset Boulevard at night. 3 a.m. from Beverly Hills down to the beach where Sunset empties out at Pacific Coast Highway. It's one of the great racetracks of the world. Good way to get killed. A lot of people have. You heard of Dead Man's Curve? That's right by UCLA in Sunset. Yep. Just adjacent to Bel Air, to the Bel Air West Gate, and paralleling UCLA on the south side. And it's many people test out their Lamborghinis and Ferraris at ultra high speeds there, and any other car, any car. So they come around that corner to Whittier from the west going east at a breakneck clip, and they peel through there. So there's no way to hide on that, to be ready. There is a little partition down the middle of Sunset of grass in the middle of but it's not, you couldn't really be there. Now, he would have to have been on the, hanging out at the signal, or just prior to the signal, and then wait for the light to turn red, and then on his bicycle go up and harass people while other traffic is around in Beverly Hills, which is known for lots and lots of police. Okay? The problem is, I gotta sit down because my back is sort of out right now. The problem is, so I'm leaving my, that's better. Well, I don't know why that happens. I haven't had that in a couple of days. Yeah, I think I need a pillow on this. Well, I'll have to work the chair thing out in the studio. Yeah, I've been working on a music track. I'm addressing it to the gang stalkers, and we've been working on that the last few days. You haven't seen me because that's what's been up, and the Lord has revealed to me the music will speak louder than podcasts as we go forward here, that he will bury in the music and the tones a tremendous amount of information and swords that will cut. Well, I can't, you know what? I don't want to say exactly what it is because you don't know. I mean, most people wouldn't know, the effect of us doing a track that would cover one of the world's tracks, what that would do to history. And it's complex, but it's got nothing to do with me. I'm just there, just going down the road, using my talents, and the more mysterious the way, the better. As far as Los Angeles goes, Arrogant Angeles, AA goes, I may not know why they covered it up, and got a patsy, but my friend who's watches all this very intensely and is a producer there emailed me immediately afterwards when Harold Smith, Harold Smith, committed suicide right on cue, baby. Yes, he wrote me and he goes, well, they got their patsy. I said, yeah, it's a perfect Lee Harvey Oswald. And you didn't even have to shoot him. He shot himself. You know what I mean? Perfect. Meanwhile, he did boast, Harold Smith, that is, he did boast about being paid 10 grand for offing her. Okay? So that's probably what they're investigating, and maybe they're just saying, okay, they're blaming it on Smith. Maybe he was there knowing she would be turning left there, so he was waiting for her because of that 10,000. But they've now announced that there was no 10,000, that he was just running his mouth. But why wouldn't he rob her if that was his motive? The other thing is, again, what kind of gun are we talking about? When the investigation first opened, we're talking about a 9mm hollow point. Well, the only thing that can deliver that would be a semi-automatic pistol like a Glock. Okay, a Glock is an expensive gun. This guy had no money to buy a gun like that. A gun like that is $400 or $500. If you want to get one unmarked, it can be up to $1,000. Okay, meaning that it's not registered, So the bottom line there is those guns emit casings. Every time you fire a bullet, out goes the shell, and it falls on the ground, okay? He wouldn't have had time after that shooting to go pick the shells up off the ground. There would be no way, because it's a heavy traffic area at a heavy-duty intersection on Sunset Boulevard. It'd be like the main street of your town, and he's out there in the middle of the night picking up casings after shooting somebody. I don't think so. Plus, the guy didn't look like the brightest bulb in the box. He looked like an idiot, running his mouth to all the neighbors down in his apartment complex, where he wasn't living, by the way. He was homeless at that time. All he had was his bicycle. Nobody rides a bike right there. Nobody would hang around with a bicycle right there. Nobody, ever. Never has, never will. They just figure you'll buy that. Anyway, let's see the list of people who are involved in the cover-up. Larry Cohen, the brother of Chasen. Drive-by. But don't look much further. And Ronnie Chasen left a good deal of her fortune to Melissa Cohen. Melissa Cohen is, I believe, the daughter of Larry Cohen and would be the niece of Ronnie Chasen, Ronnie Cohen, Veronica Cohen. Okay. So, and then the other niece, Jill Gatsby, a.k.a. Jill Cohen, was cut out of the will. But I don't believe that. Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's possible she could have scraped together. How would she network with someone to? I don't know. I don't see that. I see more like, okay, a movie didn't do well. You work with Ronnie Chasen, you pay the exorbitant fees to Chasen and Company. You better get a result on your movie. Well, what if one doesn't work? What about the disgruntled clients? Okay, what if one of those clients is mafia? I mean, it's all tied together. It's all mafia. So, I mean, all right. So what if there's a falling out with somebody, that a lot of this is tied to criminal, to white collar, mob type crime, but it's also tied to Murder Inc. All right. So that's all going on. Because the satanic system is the satanic system, which is, don't make any mistake about it, all these people are beholden to the covens in L.A. I mean, that's all I've seen. I've never seen anything but covens. Each coven now is against every other coven. Let's see if there's more spectacular murders. Probably not. I was told by a top-level person that you won't see another death like this, because, they'll make sure there's no connection. It would be, somewhere else, like a plane crash, something like that, if they start offing each other. Mm-hmm. So Ronnie Cohen would have been connected to Cher. That's Malibu. That's a major, witchy territory there. You can add to that the designer Lori Rodkin and others that are in that. There's that share coven. Okay, there's that. And Chasen was covering the handling burlesque. I believe she was handling the soundtrack for burlesque because she's pushing the Social Network for the Academy Award this year. So she was pushing the soundtrack or Cher soundtrack from burlesque, and Cher would have a. So she's in the Cher camp. Okay. Well, it's only a matter of time before the Cher camp manifests in some way, shape, or form. And underneath Cher and company, there are soldiers that take out things. And yeah, there's probably, blood flows. I all you have to do is just go by all the testimony of all the people who've talked about Satanism, and you can figure that one out pretty easily. Can you imagine how deep and dark all this is? For all these people to be connected via Satanism, for all these people to be connected via death and blood, for all these people to be connected via, the slaughter of lambs, so that never gets reported, right? For all these people to be connected, and then, like if you look at Bryce Taylor's book, you'll see how the dots are all connected to entertainers and celebrities. Nobody gets to be a celebrity without, being one of them. And not just one of them, but, promoted by the group to be that head celebrity. Celebrity is something that the Satanists worship, but not everyone gets to be that. You have to be extremely ruthless, for example, to be in that position. And you have the Scientology coven, okay? That's Satanism, so that's a coven. And so there you've got, you've known some of the famous ones like John Travolta and, what's his name, Tom Cruise, but there's many others. They're very powerful, and they are also, anyone who gets gang stalked around Hollywood, the ultimate gang stalker are the Scientologists, and they can work with other covens when there's peace. Otherwise, they can be at each other's throats. Usually the cabal, the mafia, the spiritual mafia of arrogant Angelus, usually they just kill people that are against the group, that lone wolf out there who's doing his own thing, not asking permission. He's the one that gets iced, right? Anybody that threatens the system gets iced. And then the police are there to cover it up because they don't want to get iced, right? They don't want them or their families to get hurt, right? The individual officer and their families, so they go along. Okay, so people are getting iced all the time. Usually it's people that threaten the system. But what if the system is breaking down, which I believe the Ronnie Chasen murder, and it'll be very hard for you to connect these dots because you won't read about it anywhere in a newspaper or on the internet at all. Don't look for that. You just have to go on the fact that this is like a spiritual word I'm giving, okay? What I saw in the spirit when I was there is, coven murders, coven wars. The wars have begun. And oddly enough, now I'm just going to go in the spirit here. This connects to the Quaid affair, where he talked about star whackers. And, these are people that he said are usurping his bank accounts and work together. But what he didn't realize is it's a demonic, vast network, much bigger than the people that Quaid named. And then ties in with all these covens. For example, I knew someone in one coven when I was being gang stalked, totally unrelated, and they said, "How's your life going? Don't you want all this to stop? It's your choice. You can make it stop today," I was told. That is, when I say gang stalking, I mean illegal entry, moving things around, stealing things, putting in cameras, putting in, listening devices, following in vans, surveillance photos, all the neighbors taking surveillance photos, waiting for us to leave, then illegal entry and moving things around. In other words, kind of an attempt to create an incident leading to either a shootout with neighbors, a shootout within the house, drugs, all kinds of things to be, to eliminate us totally. When moving to escaping in New Mexico under exile under secrecy, and that's where I had to change my name and all that, okay? And I did get out. I was told I would be safe here in a kind of an angry tone by people that were running this thing. But when I found out what the network was, it was vast. It was thousands and thousands of people, unlimited numbers of people involved in the actual gang stalking and connected globally to the whole satanic network. But how one person totally unrelated in another town could know everything, was that through psychic link, or I never found out. I just know that that I came within. I mean, it's happened here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, with the Chrysler Dodge dealer of Santa Fe, doing the same thing to us, and they're not going to ever get in trouble for it. They're just hoping we come forth and get the police involved, so they can make something out of it. That, i.e., we are nuts. Well, the Quades went through the exact same thing. This is basically because Randy Quaid is not in the system. He's not in the club. Dennis Quaid, his brother, is. And he's already turned against Randy. Randy thought with the Ronnie Chasen murder that Ronnie was a victim of these star whackers. Well, she's a victim of the very system that ran Randy out of the United States and on to Canada. He, like me, had to be exiled. I mean, with him, it's a much, bigger footprint, being that he was a famous actor. But I mean, it's the same dynamic over and over again. Those who threaten the system or not part of it, from time to time become targeted individuals. It doesn't matter why they target you. They target you, as my friend told me back when he was targeting me. He was part of it, and he was my friend. I think he's repented now, but you never know. I asked him why they do this. He said, because they can. It's sport. They like it. They enjoy it. There's no consequences because the cops are involved. Any city, anytime, anywhere. There's no way. The lambs are slated for death. That's my reality, Fox News and Geraldo and everybody else. Of course, they all know about all this, but see, they all had to be vetted by Satan, by the covens, to be on television. So involved in the cover-up, you have Bill O'Reilly, Geraldo, Fox News, the Beverly Hills Police Department, and who knows how many corporations, Coca-Cola, or whoever these conglomerates are who own the newspapers and the media and whatnot. Well, it goes back to the little horn, doesn't it? Who owns it? It's Los Angeles, quote, Hollywood, end quote, which is global. Hollywood is global. Hollywood simply means all means of mind control. News media, television, music. You look at a musician who's a famous artist, and you have respect. So take a guy like that looks innocent, like I don't know, Justin Timberlake. There you go. Or Eminem, huh? You think they're innocent? Nobody's innocent, and they're not innocent. When you sign on, you become a murderer. You know that. And these guys are angry. Oh, they're angry. No, they don't scare me one bit. Because I know where they're coming from. I know what punks they really are. I know what pussies they really are. Because they won't stand. If Eminem had any cojones at all, he would put his rap to this issue. But he never will. Because he's a wuss. Because it's all fake. The whole Eminem thing is all BS completely. But it's the same with every actor, everybody. It's all an illusion. Rock and roll. It's just an illusion. You think those guys are tough? Because they're tough rock and rollers? Totally satanic and tough with their own power? No. They're just little parts of the puzzle. The whole puzzle is there to get you. It all goes micro, macro. It's to get you. To get you. So let's see who else is involved in the cover-up of all the LA Times. Yeah. Same old suspects. And it'll be a nice, neat Hollywood murder. And Harold, what's his name, Smith, will be the lone gunman. Oh, yes, the lone gunman who just happened to shoot himself on cue. Anybody seen that footage of him shooting himself on cue? Don't worry. They'll get like Larry Flynn or somebody like to go ahead and produce a little piece of footage, or anybody in Hollywood. I say Larry Flint because Larry Flint was famous for doing celebrities in orgies, like he did Ronald Reagan, because I had friends that worked on his productions who were sworn to secrecy, unfortunately. Well, were they friends or were they my stalkers? Did they give me a little tidbit one day? Yeah. Yeah, a guy felt guilty. He confessed to me that he worked on a Ronald Reagan double for Larry Flint, and he was a production assistant, along with doing porn. He did that. Yeah. Fake snuff films. Oh, yeah. Real snuff films. Well, that's just satanic ritual put on film to make an extra buck. Anyway, you have no idea how deep the evil is and how deep the establishment people are in it, willingly, complicitly, with their full free will engaged. Any one of which makes Charles Manson look like a daffodil. Any one of them makes him look like nothing in terms of on the evil scale. Women too, yeah, the women, oh yeah. The women run it. The queens, like Cher, they run it. Well, she's not really, she worked her way up. I mean, she didn't, she's not a bloodline queen, but she became, she's worshipped as a queen. And maybe she's fading now. Maybe the chastened thing was to send her a message. Gosh, isn't it lurid that don't I sound completely insane? Completely 100% psychotic is what they would say. If this was a threat to them and they wanted to, it'd be completely 100% psychotic and I was hauled off to the nut house. And then that would be that. That would then discredit all the audios. Simply a ranting and raving lunatic. But I don't think the audios will ever become anything that will be. You see, with them, everything has to be overt to be threatening. They don't understand how one drop in a reservoir changes the whole reservoir. They don't understand that. It doesn't matter whether there are 10 listeners or 100,000 or 10 million. It's all the same result will happen. We're dealing with spiritual. I'm a spiritual warrior. I am not going to allow L.A. to go unexposed. But the head angel over Los Angeles is Lucifer. I just wanted you to know that, world. He doesn't exist in London or New York or Paris. No, he cannot exist in all different places at once. He can have control over other demons under his control in other cities, but he can't be everywhere at once. So, no, he cannot be everywhere at once. He does not have that capability. Or Toronto. Or Rome. Rome has you would think Satan is over Rome or Israel according to the communist, traitor, freedom-hating people. The communism is Lucifer's domain. That's his religion. Atheism is Lucifer's religion. Riots are Lucifer's domain. The riots against, we can go into the whole political landscape. I've already done that. But yeah, the Vatican and Israel, he is not over those. He is not over the Vatican or Israel. Contrary to popular thought, Israel is not the synagogue of Satan. Hollywood is. Hollywood is global. Hollywood is a domain that goes beyond location. Hollywood is the globe. Anyway, that's his throne. He is that voice. He's what makes the little horn speak. The little horn being Hollywood. Well, you heard it here. You have not heard it anywhere else, and you won't, because they can't follow. Most people can't follow this, because this is a spiritual thread. You who are spiritual, you can follow it. You can see how it all works together. That having been said, we are entering a time where the demons ought to be really happy, because we have Obama leaks. Yes, Obama leaks. Yes, that's his, WikiLeaks is Obama's pet project. He loves this. Loves it, loves it, loves it, since WikiLeaks is a communist, progressive, inspired movement. If it were me, it's got nothing to do with free speech. It has everything to do with creating the cyber war, which I predicted would happen, has happened. Cyber war is busted out. But wait, the riots are busting out, and people are getting killed now. You rioters, you like that? You like working for the man, killing people? How are you different from any Satanist? You're the same. You are that. You're just a slave, an idiot, an uber idiot, thinking he's smart. That on the left we're really smart. We're intellectuals. No, you're stupid. Never met one that was smart. I met a lot that were arrogant and thought they were smart. But they're not, because they end up being dupes of the man. Of course, see, you're not ready to hear that, because that's the truth. And the truth is not easily swallowed. We'll keep it on Hollywood for now. Although Hollywood is engineering, a lot of things you see, including the whole WikiLeaks thing, which is of course a joke. WikiLeaks is a military operation. The cyber wars beginning is going to be never ending, and the idea, those people that want to end free speech need WikiLeaks so that we can have a cyber war on the internet, so the internet can be shut down. They're salivating right now. Thank God for WikiLeaks. Because WikiLeaks is creating the situation. But my prediction now is it goes to more bloodshed. I told you to watch Europe. I told you to watch Europe and the riots. It's going to melt down totally. The people, being stupid, don't know what else to do but throw bricks through windows, and that's what they'll do. And then they'll starve, and then they'll be gunned down. And that's what I've been dealing with emotionally. It's been very hard for me to see that in the spirit and watch people going on like this little system we're in is going to go on forever. It won't. It will not. It will not. It absolutely will not. But I'm going to wait till you all are in food lines, because then you'll realize I was right. But during that time, you'll be dying. There'll be death. And the reason why is because God wants you to wake up, to understand what's going on, to understand this is all orchestrated from the future time, that all the results are known. So don't fall prey to it. If you'd like some advice from me, my advice would be to stand separate from it. If you don't know what else to do, just so you can get your perspective, because you're not going to really be able to comprehend a lot of the things that you're seeing. You won't believe that are coming forward in the future. A lot of the things that you're going to see will be hard for you to understand, because like yesterday, for example, I'm watching them talking about the Congress and the fight that's going on, like it's a legitimate fight. It's no fight. There is no voting. It's basically a one-way street. We will shove the checkpoints at you. We will take your freedom away. We will shove this globalist amnesty thing at you. We'll shove all these programs and WikiLeaks and everything else because we want to destabilize the globe, bring total war to everybody. This is the prophecy in Isaiah where everyone runs each other through with a sword, okay? Where it's brother against brother. And I don't want to, see you get caught up in that. But, if you do, then you are a dupe of the state. You're a dupe of Lucifer. You're a dupe of the system. You got to be smarter than that. And so people here still think it's, left versus right. It's not. It's basically the communist, Satanist, globalist, tyrannical takeover that has been planned for eons. And it's going forth at a breakneck clip. That's why they're having to put in the checkpoints everywhere. Because the plan, just like the book of Revelation says, and we can go through the book of Revelation because it's absolutely true. It will get to where they cull people out to intern them and to kill them if they're not the right spirit. It's all a spiritual battle. Everything you see, everything in the physical is coming from the satanic spirit who is now overrunning, the little horn overrunning the kingdom that is to fall is going to have a time to overcome the saints. So politics has nothing to do with it. People that get caught up in that will get violent, and they will be wrong, and they will make tremendous mistakes thinking that they're after the guy that caused it, when in fact the guy that caused it is Satan. The whole battle is about whether you will give up your soul or join them. And so let me just make some predictions, because there's nothing else I can do about preaching about this, because people are going to... Listen, most of the people... Let me say one further thing, an observation I have. The people on whatever side they're on are going to stay there through this. Whatever side they're on politically, whatever side they're on, whatever they've decided regarding the riots and all that, they're going to continue. Nothing I say or anyone says will change anything, or any information or anything on the internet. Nothing will change the course that's been set out. These people are set in stone, and they will not change. That being said, there will be, at times, brethren killing brethren with extreme prejudice. And that's what's kept me silent the last few days, because I realize this is going to go to bloodshed now. And there is no other way. Bloodshed is where it's going, I mean, it'd be like this. Guy comes down the street, throws a brick through my window, so I shoot him. Both of us believe in Jesus. Both of us believe we're right. Okay? Class warfare, the haves versus the have-nots, absolutely. That will go to bloodshed. Race war will go to bloodshed. Gang war will go to bloodshed. Political war, bloodshed. There is no political discourse left. Money, worthless, bloodshed. If you can't pay the debt with labor, if you can't pay the debt with profit, if you can't pay the debt off the backs of the people, then the people must be slaughtered to pay the debt. Remember I used to teach you that? If it can't be paid for in human capital, it must be paid for in blood. That's why wars are started. This is according to the satanic rule book. It must be paid for. And if there's nothing else left to pay, then the people must be conquered and enslaved. And if that doesn't work, there must be bloodshed. They must be slaughtered. They must be committing genocide against them then. Now, as far as the Jews, the plot is already in to extinguish the Jewish state totally by anti-Semites, communists, whatever. The left has always been anti-Semitic, and they're making a big push, beginning with the Catholic Church, to nullify Israel's right to be on the land they're on. I would fight to the death to defend Israel in this war. in that capacity, just like the United States. Because I believe that the people that oppose and believe Israel should just go away somewhere are the same people that would put them in the Nazi ovens. I remember in Europe, talking to someone who's Swiss, and they were saying that during the war, during the Hitler time, the Swiss would let the trains with the Jews go through. Everybody in Europe was happy that Hitler was exterminating the Jews. Very happy, thrilled. Europe has blood all over its hands, and it's going to pay that debt now. But they were very, very happy, very ecstatic to have those trains going through Switzerland. Neutral? Not at all. No, the Jew hating in Europe is breathtaking. And so the judgment against Europe, the fatwa on Europe right now is this. Islam and Sharia law will take over all of Europe. In this reporter's prediction, as a judgment. And the Europeans will accept Sharia law. They will accept the Islam encroachment. They will accept it all, not realizing that it will be a noose around their neck. But they're being cut off. And the cutoff is the Islamic takeover, which most Europeans, since they don't really know freedom, will go ahead and accept it. They won't fight for freedom. Those few lone voices that try to stave off the Islamic threat will be silenced with people calling them racist and things like that. Political correctness will be the noose that hangs Europe. But the United States is not far behind. It equally shares in the bloodshed. Here it's called civil war between what you might call the left and the right. In Hollywood, we have coven wars, where you will see more spectacular murders. You will see more things. They're not going to put the genie back in the box after the Ronnie Chasen thing. And then the rest of the globe will kind of watch as this big satanic Hollywood production unfolds. The entire thing, and the war in the Middle East, and the war in Europe, and the war everywhere, is going to be produced entirely by Hollywood. It will be the first digital film that involves human bloodshed, which can be watched live on the internet, provided Obama Leaks, which is what WikiLeaks is, isn't taken out. In other words, the internet could be taken out due to the clever use of WikiLeaks and putting in mercenaries to go ahead and start delivering these DDoS attacks everywhere. Yeah, take out MasterCard, take out PayPal. Yeah, serves them right. Only idiots will end up saying that. People don't understand. What's really going on here is top-down, bottom-up, and inside-out revolution, as Glenn Beck would say, as Van Jones would say. They're grabbing for the full power now, and they have military assets like submarines armed with nuclear weapons to go ahead and take out the cities when that balloon goes up, and it will. So this has been kind of hard for me to fathom the last few days. I'm sorry, but I have been in tremendous pain, so much pain, that I couldn't speak. So I work on the music because, well, you may not understand about the music and what it has in it, the effect. And I don't want to, upset other people. And I certainly don't want to tip off what we're doing. Because they don't understand. They hear a cover song like a Led Zeppelin cover. They all think is that vanity? No, it's not vanity. No, not vanity at all. But they don't get what it is. I don't see how well, you're not in the spirit. That's why. You don't understand that it basically nullifies the entire situation. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all connected. The stars, the moon, the sun, the songs, the politics, the this, the that, the wars, the death. It's all connected. The Ronnie Chasen, the WikiLeaks, Obama, I'd love to find some. Are there any Well, there's not much in the way of, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, okay? Randy Quaid, Evie Quaid, Dennis Quaid, the lawyers, the managers, all people. So we need prophets to come forth and tell us, well, what is all that going on? People are confused. It's like, well, since people don't listen to any prophets, there's none that are going to come forth. They've already spoken. They've already gone and spoken, and they've died. You're going to have to go to the book of Revelation then, if you want to find some real accurate prophecy of what's going on. But that's a real general view. It's not a real comprehensive view. For example, it does not include Asia, except for a 200 million man army. Oh, that. You would think that even today, with all the information about what's going on, so clear, and who's responsible, what all this is about, that people would be on their knees in repentance to the holy God, Yahweh Elohim God. You would be on their knees. The people who had been against the Jews and cursed them, too, would have repented as well, being that it's the God of... But the anti-Semitism won't stop. And that's what, when I see it, I call it what it is. I have never said anywhere that if you criticize the Jews, you go to hell. That's an outright lie. I never said that. I said, you curse the Jews. Look at Romans 11. That's boasting against the natural branches. In other words, you don't understand. The whole thing is progressive in time. You don't understand. You cut yourself off from God, basically, through your curse. No, criticism, yeah, they're corrupt. Okay, the United States is corrupt. Fine, criticize. Fine. But that's not what I said. I've said nothing other than what the Bible has said. I stand on what Scripture says on that issue. Period. End of story. I'm not going to go against Scripture. Those who throw the Bible out, to me, are just total brain dead. I mean, they're just people that have no clue about reality, what's going on. Foolish, foolish people. I think I've said enough. But yeah, I'm going to keep speaking the truth. No one's going to stop me from speaking the truth. And, when you look at me and want to make judgments on me, let me tell you something. The first thing you should do, you should ask the Lord what to respect and what not. Because I've seen people totally diss me, and I'm like when I'm on with Brother Thomas, totally diss Brother Thomas, for example, who we're in the same ministry together. It's like an angelic ministry. It's hard to explain also. But the track record speaks for itself. To disrespect, like, oh, he's just putting an opinion out, here's my opinion. No. God will just cut you off. You can't do that. Can't do that. If, there was a reason to diss someone like Brother Thomas, then fine, but to... See, I've seen people diss him, and then the thing he said came due. Then they diss him again. Okay, so therefore, almost every ministry on the internet is bogus that I've seen. I get to know who is false. So those who've dissed him, I know, oh, they're false. They say they're of God, but they're not, because if they were, they would know. So I cut them off. Or I speak out. But then that's the end of the matter. We need to move on then. It's like no big deal. The wheat and the tares, the sheep and the goats, the dividing, it's all happening right now. Sound will be the most important thing since there'll be censorship everywhere else. So those of you who are musicians and make sound, I suggest honing your skills. That may be the only form of speech you're going to have. And the songs would have to be without lyrics. That may be the only speech you're going to get. And that may be the only chance you're going to get to do something. But as far as the rest of it's concerned, I'm not here to convince people that have made up their minds on anything. But I do not support that which I cannot support, that which goes against the truth as I know it. And I'm going to say the truth as I know it. And, and if, I do see bloodshed between brethren. Yep, it's unfortunate, but that wouldn't be the first time it's happened. And I see that going on in cities. Who talked about riots and fireballs first and communism? And make no mistake, it is the communist takeover. That's what it is. Anyone who sympathizes with that is on the enemy's side. If Satan is the enemy, then and you're a communist, then your God is not Yahweh. Your God is not God. You have another God. And I will not recant on that. And yes, I realize that these words make me a lunatic and in danger of being hauled off. But, the alternative would be to side up with churches or synagogues or temples or mosques. And their milk-wheat toast, homogenized view of society, which is total BS. It's like a total cover-up of what's really happening. Again, influenced by the little horn everywhere. The whole Islam thing, of course, ultimately is a joke. People don't have to be enslaved if they don't want to be. But it comes down, it's beyond what Glenn Beck is talking about. It goes to the human will. You have to make a decision in the quiet of your room. Who are you going to serve? So I advocate when they tell you to join them, throw bricks through windows, get them, evil, trying to class warfare and all these other things, to resist being inducted into these circles of shame. This would be the time to be. If you are a liberal, you have seen, let's say a Democrat, you've seen your party taken over by communist revolutionaries. They've also taken over the Republicans, and they'll abandon the left-right Hegelian dialectic when they're in reach of the goal, which is total enslavement. This is where I'm in complete agreement with Alex Jones, not for the reason Alex Jones says, but I'm in agreement that that's the end game. But depopulation first, thank you very much. Utopia cannot be possible unless we're down to 500 million people, with the elites running the 500 million as slaves. It looks very much like Satan's won. I know. Today it looks like Satan's won lock, stock, and barrel. That anyone on the outside of that is an utter fool, a derelict, an idiot. I know. It looks like the enemy is, and that's one thing Brother Thomas did say, that the enemy has it locked up. And that's what they think anyway. But I do know different. I know it sounds crazy. I'm standing up against a huge machine, little me, and this huge machine, like in Tiananmen Square, the kid up against the tank, that's like me. And they're saying, you still think you can win, Brother Z? I know how it looks. Aren't you tired of having your ass kicked every day and people stalking you and sabotaging you and all this stuff going on? Been going on since I was 5, so here's what I worry about. When it doesn't go on, when a person says they are of the Lord and it's not happening, then I worry, right? Who am I dealing with here? Are they for real? They can't relate to what's really happening? Because any persecution I get is just typical. Just typical. It's garden variety. It's just the way it should be for any believer. Any believer. Not anything unusual with me. Nothing special here. If it's not happening to you, though, and you really do love the Lord, you're not doing enough. You got to get the persecution going on and then be happy when it's happening. That's the total Christ-like vibe. That's when you are really awesome. Because you would never think you're awesome. You'd be like low and serving people, right? You wouldn't be having to go by your ego and, well, this is mine, and this is my idea, and this is my and that's yours. And me, my ministry, and I can see. Well, I couldn't fall into that because I was not allowed to build a ministry. So I guess the benefit of that is I don't get to see it crumble because there's nothing to crumble. Let that satisfy you today. I believe this is Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we went through Hanukkah. Hanukkah ended yesterday. So now Friday, I feel better. I'm looking forward to meeting up with brethren the beginning of the week, I hope. But because there are riots going on in certain parts of the world, it's delaying some things. Oh no, the riots are breaking out everywhere. My advice to you is don't join them. Don't join them. Unless you want to get unless you want to needlessly and for no reason and for no good reason spill your blood or your loved one's blood. Those who live by the sword will die by the sword. This is the time for Christ-like. Well, I don't own a storefront, so if someone throws a brick through the window, I'm not going to shoot them. I am saying that if I was in that situation of someone who had something to defend, a brother in Christ could come up and get caught up in the riot, throw a brick through the window, and I could shoot them, and they could shoot me. I see that happening. That's what I'm trying to report on. I'm saying you guys stand down. Let some of God. I wrote a post like this on Crazy Lamb. I'm trying. I could not even do a podcast. I couldn't even do any broadcast because I was completely incapacitated. This is the first utterance I've been able to make, and I can see that, for some people it will be very divisive. It's not going to be a unifying thing because I can't lie. I got to say the truth as I know it. I can't just start trying to appease people. Believe me, they're saying what they want to say. I have the right to say what I want to say. Amen. And with that, I bid you shalom. I love you, and I'm praying for you. This is zedja.podomatic.com. Oh, yes, we are. It's all moving. The Podomatic experience will end not right away. It takes some months to migrate, but within a little time, I will be on another site. And I will announce it to you. It will be all the audios that I've ever done, music, everything that I've done, really, will be on one site, including the latest. You'll be able to go back to 2006, 2005, 2004. It will take about a year to build it all, but it will be everything available just in case, anything happens to me. You'll have some of those were like in 2002, 3, and 4 were like exactly what's happening right now. But they were also strengthening words, the words about, once you're conscious, once you're conscious of what's going on, meaning you're able to fathom the spiritual realm and walk to and fro upon the earth and understand what the spirits are doing, not politics or newspapers or, what I mean? Because that's all controlled by Satan. All the internet, news, WikiLeaks, all that is Satan, mind control. All right? To get beyond that, you got to go into the spirit and see how it all connects. But it makes you sound crazy. But those who can be walking in the spirit will be at peace. You'll be in the eye of the hurricane. But those who get caught up in the literalness of the internet, the literalness of news articles, the literalness of what they tell you on the radio or whatever, who react stupidly to all that input and data will be mind control victims. Absolutely. We must break this consciousness now. We must break these patterns. And it's not just like the Buddhist detachment, although Buddhist detachment is great, but that doesn't go far enough. The Buddhist can still be a mind control slave. Not through attachment, but through detaching, and yet believing the input that's being inputted into their consciousness, and then detaching from it. In other words, that's only half-assed. The Buddhist is a halfway thing. To really go all the way, it's a breaking that has to occur. A lot of people call that a psychotic break. I'll see you next time. Flagged her down, but I think she would have gone past. It would have had to have been at the signal where she was making a left. he would have had to have gotten in the fast lane of Sunset Boulevard, since you have 2 lanes going west, and then you have the left turn lane. He would have had to get in where also those 2 lanes would have a green light while there's a red light on the left turn lane. So he'd have to get in the left lane, get up alongside her on the passenger side, dismount the bike or lean down, fire perfectly, then jump off the bike, get all the bullets off the ground, since there was no evidence, put it back in his bag or whatever, then ride his bicycle away without robbing her, which was his original intention, so some people would think. Unless he says he was paid $10,000 to ice her, okay, which means that he would have waited there for her, okay, if that story is true. But they're now saying it's not. They're saying that there was no motive other than it was just a drive-by. All right, so involved in the cover-up, at least for now. They may come forth with some information later. I hope they do, because this is right now totally not only ridiculous, impossible. Anyone who's been there, and I have been there, and I've been to the murder site, and I've been to where she crashed, and I showed you video of that. And I will tell you this. First of all, in Beverly Hills, hits happen all the time, okay? They get called in all the time, and they get covered up. Most of my friends who were murdered because they did not become Satanists, which means they become a treat for the party. Ha-ha, party favor. And they get their throat cut. Okay, what happens to them is they end up, it gets covered up, and it's called a accident. You know, they put them in a car somewhere and throw the car off the cliff, and they go, oh, it's an accident. The Beverly tell the mafia what to do. They employ the mafia to be their hitmen. They employ the mafia to do their dirty work, but they treat the mafia like maid service. You got me? And the mafia is happy to oblige. That is the Italian mafia, the Jewish mafia, whatever. These guys are far underneath what controls Los Angeles. Next, I've decided I'm not going to hold back. Absolutely. Well, the case in point is the cover-up of the Ronnie Chasen murder, where they feel that now this guy was a random act. There is no way, shape, or form a guy on a bicycle with a gun is hanging out at Sunset and Whittier Drive in Beverly Hills. That's, first of all, a very busy street, lots of cops. Beverly Hills police are ubiquitous, and it's not going to happen. The other thing is, they're linking the gun. If he was going to ride around on a bicycle and shoot somebody several times at close range through the window, he'd have to stoop down to the Mercedes because it's lower than you'd be on a bike. And he'd have to go then pick up his shells off Sunset Boulevard while cars are going by. I.e., it's absolutely not, really completely possible. Or if, okay, let's say she slowed down after making the left turn onto Whittier Drive. The problem I have then is, first of all, Whittier Drive, even at midnight, is still used quite a bit as a shortcut from Sunset to Wilshire. There is no place to just slow down and for him to pull up on the right. I suppose it's possible. He could have, Beverly Hills PD, along with everybody else in LA, they go ahead and make sure it comes out that way. At least that's my experience with the BHPD. They're there to serve the people that call the shots, and they do what they're told, and they always have, and they always will. And there's no independent investigation in the Beverly Hills Police Department, and never will be. And there never was. I mean, I knew this just because people in my family told them what to do. And I was a witness to that when I was a kid. Ordered them around. Oh, I can't tell you everything, but there's certain things I just don't want to say, but it's the reason, the whole thing again goes back to that satanic initiation. You must be initiated into the satanic, to the world, to the system, to understand to keep your mouth shut about the PHPD, okay? That's what you've got to understand, because they are corrupt. But then again, corrupt in the sense that the people that live in Beverly Hills, like I say, the honchos there, not everybody in Beverly Hills, I'm just saying the people that run that city, like they do in many cities, tell the cops what to do. Right? You've seen that on television. Well, in the case of the Ronnie Chasen murder, what I think is going on, they're not so bad. I think maybe there's a side investigation going on to find out who called the hit, while they put forth this ridiculous story about a guy hanging around. Nobody would hang around at midnight at the corner of Whittier and Sunset, because there's no way to hang around. I mean, there's a park there on the southwest corner. I suppose you could hide in the shadows of the park. Ah, there you are. Yes, I've been in a week of deep sort of contemplation as we wind up the year here. And, I think there's this rest period coming now and some other things going on. It's a little bit confusing, but number one, I have to say my prayers are going out to you right now in the name of Yeshua, Jesus, to stop the oppression, the mental oppression that you're all getting. I'm sorry. Very, very sorry. It would be a lot easier if you knew it was coming from a satellite, but I bust and break and bind that oppression. I bind it in the name of Yeshua. I bind it in the name of God, all that is holy, Jesus. I bind and cast it out. I bind it and cast it out from your mind. I put a holy shield of protection with the power of the blood of Jesus Christ, God, to protect your minds, all of your minds, because in the mind begins the pain then affects the body affects your actions, and then you're down. I reverse all that with this prayer. Reverse all that, because the Father is giving you the power over the enemy, and that these flying darts and arrows will not touch you. I intone Psalm 91, Psalm 23, and absolutely sing the praises of all Scripture, which promises that the enemy will not by any means harm you, unless it's meant to be harmed, unless you're meant to go through something. But in that case, the Lord would reveal this to you. This has been the enemy sneak attack, which has worked. And I'm very sorry but since we're all connected, we all know exactly what I'm talking about. And, I've been incapacitated when I've gone to L.A. and then done the work I do. I have gotten, the last trip, I got absolutely incapacitated where I could not even move. I could not talk. I could not function. It was like being in a dream where layers of air were so thick I couldn't pass through them, where I could see the spirits over that city would prevent me from just being like everyone else that was being left alone, because they're not a threat. I mean, if you're going to pray, well, L.A. is now renamed Arrogant A. It's AA, Arrogant Angels. That's the name of it. Arrogant Angeles. Instead of Lost Angels, Lost Angles, Lost Angeles, it's Arrogant Angeles. Arrogant Angels. It's the city of the fallen. The demon over L.A. is Lucifer. I know. The head angel over Los Angeles is Satan, because he's raised up that little horn, Hollywood. And the little horn speaks the great blasphemies against the Most High and controls the entire world. All your newspapers, all your media, everything is controlled by Hollywood. You don't know that, but it is. There are no independent voices at all. And the hierarchy of Hollywood controls who gets to be a journalist and who doesn't, through the circles of shame, the witchcraft entry. Bottom line, The Jews there are not Jews. Of course, they don't run Hollywood completely. LA is not run by Jews. LA is run by a mafia of Satanists, but they're not Jews. LA is run by a mafia so powerful